Hello, everybody. Um, a lot has happened. I don't know how many months it's been, but there's been a little bit of an audio upgrade. Let's just put it that way. So, this cost $80, by the way. Okay, so you know how I'm supposed to read 3 books and then update you and then continue that over and over again? Yeah, so it turns out I read a little bit more than 3 books since the last update. If we are counting rereads, I read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And that's kind of like 11 and a half. Ooh. So we're technically going to do 4, but at the same time, wait, no, we're technically doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're technically doing 6, but it's actually only 3 new books, and the other 3 are rereads. However, the one reread, one of the 2 rereads, 2 of one reread was how do you even describe it? Not new, like it wasn't. Oh no, I haven't talked about it yet. That's the big thing. Okay, so you know what? Let's just start off simple. I said in the last video that I was either going to read Miss Ice Sandwich or Gravity's Rainbow next. I ended up reading Miss Ice Sandwich. I don't know. I wanted something really quick and easy, and I have it right on here that I gave Miss Ice Sandwich 3.75 stars. This falls under the same category of books as Convenience Store Woman and Earthlings, right? These are short, sub 50,000 word novels written by Japanese women. Is this book written? No, I've never read any books written by this author, I don't think. It's only 92 pages. I don't know what it is about women writing fiction in Japan and loving to write stories, 1, about children, and 2, write really short books that all have this same weird tone of like, I don't fit in with how society wants me to be. And all of these books are like primarily written for adults. I've only read 2 books that technically meet all of those, but the fact that I have read 2 of them and they're like 2 of the most popular books, at least translated fiction, says something. So yeah, what did I actually think about this book though? Personally, reflecting on it and thinking back, because I read this almost a year ago at this point. Oh my goodness. It didn't leave that many lasting impressions. That's all I'll say. However, I thought it was definitely, I guess, more concise than Earthlings. Earthlings kind of felt like it was repeating itself, whereas this doesn't as much. Like, it feels more, I guess, well edited. There's so little I can actually say about this book. I just don't know. I don't remember enough about what was particularly good about this book to, I guess, express any more interest or like describe anything. I don't know. I'm not even going to try. But yeah, I gave it 7.5 stars. So very clearly it was enjoyable when I read it. The 2 or 3 days it took me to read. Then there is, God, what? Okay, the next book, right. The next book I read was Infinite Jest. And you might be thinking, what do you mean the next book you read is Infinite Jest? Didn't you read that 3 years ago? I think 3 years ago, maybe 2. It probably was 2 years ago. Anyway, you would be right. So there's this thing, I found an audiobook, but it's not even just an audiobook, it's a podcast called Infinite Cast. And it's a husband and wife. The wife had already read Infinite Jest twice on her own time, and her husband had never read it. So they both are like podcasters, so they decided to make a new podcast called Infinite Cast, where the entire purpose of the podcast, at least as it began, was that they were going to sit down and read the entirety of Infinite Jest. The wife reading it aloud to her husband, and anyone who had anything to say at any point was allowed to chime in, and they would discuss anything relevant in the portion after. I'm pretty sure this podcast is 124 episodes long. I listened to the entire thing in about 3 weeks. Each episode is anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour in length. So I probably had more fun listening to the book, but only because I'd already read it. You know what I mean? I have such a problem with audiobooks. I can't listen to an audiobook if I don't already know the story, because the moment I stop listening, I have to go back, and I hate that. Whereas with this, listening to an audiobook of a book I've already read is a million times better. Oh my goodness, it's so much easier and enjoyable. It was like I could just put it on in the background of anything and get everything, because every single thing that was happening, I was like, oh yeah, I remember this. Oh yeah, I remember this. And their input also was eye-opening. It was almost like reading it with Cliff's Notes, but it was just whatever they had heard or thought. And I actually learned new things listening to them read it this time. So that's all I'm going to say about this, because I'm eventually going to do a full video about the book by itself. Wow, this is the second time I am reviewing this book without actually talking about what makes the book good. 5 stars. Then I read Inherent Vice, and I read this with the same podcast. You might be thinking, Sam, what are you talking about? The podcast is called Infinite Cast. This is not Infinite Jest. You would be right. They finished Infinite Jest, obviously. Otherwise, how would I have listened to it? Then they recorded themselves reading the book Inherent Vice by Thomas Pynchon. I gave this book 2 stars, as in 4. I really don't enjoy this book, and I don't enjoy this book for one very clear reason. I couldn't tell you anything that happened in this book as far as it relates to plot in any way. This book is so incredibly plotless, but not in a literary way. You know how literary novels are always oh, I'm going to talk about the character, and, there's not really going to be anything that's happening for 100 pages, but, in various settings, you will learn about the character or whatnot. Yeah, this was not like that at all. This was there are going to be 50 random scenes with a bunch of people that you know and don't know, and they're going to be loosely connected in the most broad way possible, all while it's a murder mystery, except it's not even really a mystery. It is a mystery in that you don't know who did it, but it's not a mystery in the sense that you care, or even the protagonist cares. It's written in such a way that's so disinterested in the mystery part of the book that I don't even care about it listening to it, because I listened to it and read my physical copy, which is right there. I'm not going to go get it. This book was just a mess. I mean, it's kind of funny in some parts, but in other parts, it's just what? I don't care. I just don't care. And this scene doesn't connect to anything else. It's kind of why are we here? You could say it's poorly edited, but then you'd have to cut out 80% of the book. So it's definitely very intentionally written this way. I just don't agree with the intention, is what it comes down to. So yeah, I couldn't tell you what actually happened in that book to be able to say why I disliked it, other than that it's impossible to say what happened in this book, even while reading it. Okay, so the book I read after this was Infinite Jest. I decided to listen to the audiobook slash podcast again, and this time it took me 7 days on 3 times speed, and it was really fun. No notes. I've officially read slash listened to this book 3 times, and there will be a 4th, a 5th, a 6th, a 7th, whatever you want. Oh, and by the way, that those 2 rereads were within 2 months of each other. Then I reread Inherent Vice. The video is just full of twists. So you know how I didn't understand Inherent Vice? Yeah, so I decided that trying to listen to them read it again, I wasn't even going to touch my physical copy. I was like, I've read the story once. It'll be easy to listen to the audiobook. I don't know if I just started tuning the audiobook out or what was happening, but I couldn't begin to tell you what the plot of this book was. I can remember like 3 scenes and the names of maybe 4 characters. All I'm going to say is I'm never ever going to recommend this book to anybody. And if you are remotely interested in this book, pirate it. Also, here's a note. Thomas Pynchon has apparently been writing the same book over and over again for like the last 20 years. He's effectively written these like noir crime novels or like noir murder mysteries, except he's written like 4 of them, but they're all completely unrelated, back to back to back. It's like if I wrote a story about dragons and a castle and then wrote another story 3 years later about dragons and a castle, but it has nothing to do with the first one. They're not even in the same world. And then I wrote a 3rd book about dragons and a castle, completely unconnected to the first 2. He's literally written 4 completely unrelated mystery, crime, noir novels. And I'm pretty sure Inherent Vice was the first one in that weird quartet. Maybe. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. That's what I've seen. Okay. And finally, Gravity's Rainbow. As I said, I would be reading it. I actually started reading Gravity's Rainbow in the summer. Right after I finished Miss Ice Sandwich, I started reading it. I got about 58% of the way through, and unfortunately, I put the book down. And I did not pick it up again until December. Yeah, like 5 months later. So with this book, this is also written by Pynchon, Thomas Pynchon. Only these books were written 30 years apart. 30. Gravity's Rainbow is the book that he's most famous for. And this was written in, which year? Oh my goodness. Like 1973 or something like that. He's also the person who wrote the book Vineland, which is the book that One Battle After Another is based on. I don't know how accurate the book is to the movie, but Paul Thomas Anderson has also directed the movie adaptation of Inherent Vice. So he clearly loves adapting Thomas Pynchon novels. Will he ever adapt Gravity's Rainbow? Who knows? It's so hard to adapt. Like, even thinking of it as a director myself, I feel like I don't even know how I would approach it. It's just so pointless, if I can say that. Gravity's Rainbow is the same as Inherent Vice in that it feels like a bunch of disconnected scenes, only Gravity's Rainbow is written so much more pleasantly than Inherent Vice. Like, Inherent Vice is written kind of sloppily. Like, it's kind of just like, oh yeah, he's kind of tired. He doesn't really have the energy to write well anymore. He doesn't want to put work into his writing. Whereas with Gravity's Rainbow, it's like, maybe the plot doesn't really make any sense. And it's kind of just this weird adventure across Europe in 1945 and kind of doesn't really have any real story, but at least the writing is nice to read and enjoyable in that sense. I mean, the opening scene, oh my goodness. Like, I don't even remember the first line, but it's something along the lines of like big light screaming across the sky or something like that in pitch black and some iron stuff. I don't even remember what it was. Yeah, those two things separate it. And I gave it 6.5 stars just because it's just, even though it took me so much longer to read Gravity's Rainbow, I would sooner reread Gravity's Rainbow than Inherent Vice. Like, Gravity's Rainbow, while not my favorite, Slothrop as a protagonist, I guess, is more enticing, even though realistically, he's almost the exact same person as the protagonist of Inherent Vice. There's not that much that separates them. I feel like it's really a Thomas Pynchon stand-in, but like slightly more aloof than he is. Like, I feel like this could have been a much better novel had it had a little more heart in it and a little less gross sex. This book is horny for really, really gross things and very inappropriate things. And it's almost kind of just every character that's doing it. I should also make a note that Gravity's Rainbow is a postmodern novel, meaning it doesn't take itself seriously at all. It's somehow like super profound in its language, and yet the next scene, the character will be doing something that you could find on an SNL sketch, but it's taken just as seriously. So that kind of disconnectedness and the scenes kind of feeling like they don't really go anywhere or don't amount to anything makes it more understandable, because at least the journey is fun. This is definitely a book that's like journey, not the destination, because I literally couldn't even tell you what the destination was. I don't understand the point of this book at all. At the end of the book, it ends with them on a rocket. The protagonist can predict like when rockets are going to be launched and or where they are going to strike by his erections, and yet this is basically used not at all in terms of the actual plot. Like, that sounds interesting for a character in World War II Europe, but it's just not used at all. Like, that doesn't really come up after the first 150 pages. It might not even be mentioned until then, but it just doesn't come up at all. Frankly, this book could do with some editing and purpose or point, because this is, as I said, this is a journey, not the destination type of novel, but the journey itself could have been a little more coherent, and we could have used a lot less random military and or political nonsense, especially considering it just didn't affect the story in any way. It just felt like a distraction. You know what I mean? Like, that was the worst offense of it, is that it just felt like we were distracting from our protagonist, who, even if stupid and disjointed, was so much more interesting to read about than any of the political or military slop that we were getting from here. You know what I mean? Like, if you'd cut all of that out, which is easily 100,000 words worth, I probably would have given this book at least a 7. At least a 7. But that's all I have to say. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other books that I have to review after this, none of which are rereads. So, yeah, look forward to that when I record the video for those in 2028.